Welcome to the Calcutta Race's Spring Meeting 2022, first day Tuesday 8th February, our race preview. The first race of the afternoon is the Sip-In Cup. Horses rated 1 to 26 to be run over a distance of 1400 meters. The first runner we're looking at is Colossal, who had a run in race number 26 where it was travelling in last spot, made up a couple of places and eventually finished on 10th. The winner here was Who Dares Wins. We move on to number 2, Mandolin. Mandolin ridden by P. Tejeshwar today. Mandolin has had one start in this season in race number 30 over 1400 meters where it was in a forward position in second spot as they entered the home straight but weakened and eventually finished on 4th of 7 runners. The winner here was Sherwin, who won that race by almost length and a 3/4. We got 3 runners we're looking at. Firstly, we got Moon Art. Moon Art has had a couple of starts, finished on 5th in race number 42. In his last start in race number 49, the one we are looking at, Moon Art eventually finished on 4th after travelling in mid-pack throughout. Number 9 is Mystic Prince, who has had a couple of starts as well, has been off-board. In his last start, Mystic Prince took the turn in 6th spot and eventually finished on 6th. We also had number 13, Rewrite the Stars, who's placed in his first start in race number 34. In this race, Rewrite the Stars managed to finish on 5th. The winner here was Cape Norris. Next up, we are looking at number 4, Persian King. Persian King had one start where it trailed the field, was travelling in 7th spot, as you can see it on the top of your screen, on the left of the screen, in the claret and gold epaulets, and really did not really make any impression on this race. Finished on 7th of 7 runners. The winner here was X-Fight, who took the inside run and got that race by a long neck. Couple of runners we're looking at. Number 5 is Tiago, benefit of a run in race number 48 where Tiago trailed the field, finished on 8th of 8 runners. Number 6 is Mose, who's had quite a few starts, was a winner in its last start. After travelling in 6th spot, Mose came up with a run and eventually got the measure of bunting in the dying stages of the race, won that race by a short neck. Next up, we got number 7, Blazing Bell. This run we are looking at is over 2000 meters where Blazing Bell ran a little green in the early stages of the race and took the turn in 10th spot, weakened further and eventually finished on 10th of 12 runners. The winner here was Swiss Stardo, who won that race by almost 3/4 of a length. Number 8 is Marazzo. The run we are looking at is from the monsoon season where it had only one solitary start where Marazzo made the pace, but once the horses bought into the home straight, fell back and eventually finished on last of 7 runners. The winner here was Criteria, who took charge into the last 200 and drew away, won that race by 4 lengths. Number 10 is Legend Returns. Legend Returns has had a couple of starts. His best start was its last start, the one we are looking at in race number 21, where it was travelling in 6th spot at the end of the home straight, but made some lead gains and eventually finished on 3rd behind the eventual winner, which was Vanguard, almost a distance from the winner. Number 11 is Lady Lorraine. Lady Lorraine has had a couple of starts and first start it finished on 4th in a 1600 meters race behind Vanguard. In his last start in the Oaks, Lady Lorraine was trailing the pack as they entered the home straight, but then ran out of gas very quickly and eventually finished on 6th of 7 runners. The winner here was Euphrates. Joanna has had couple of starts, and his first start was installed as the favourite but didn't really make much of an impression. Eventually finished on 5th in race number 2 behind Wandering Angel. In his last start, Joanna looked much better but then yet failed to produce the form on the track and eventually finished on 6th of 8 runners. The winner here was Nandini's Pet, who won that race by almost 2.5 lengths. We move on to the second race of the afternoon, the Rotary Club Royals Cup for horses rated 21 to 46 to be run over a distance of 1600 meters. The first runner we're looking at is number 1, Whistleblower. Whistleblower has had 3 starts. First, it finished on 4th over 1600 meters in race number 13. And its next start, it finished on 12th of 12 runners behind 3rd Avenue. In this last start, Whistleblower travelled a little wide throughout, as you can see on your top of your screen, and eventually finished on 4th. Again, the winner was 3rd Avenue. Three runners went up in this race. We are looking at it in race number 48. First up, we got number 2, Apna Time Aiga, who took the turn in 4th spot, then weakened slightly and eventually finished on 6th. We also had number 5, which is Aftershock. Aftershock was travelling in 5th spot and weakened and eventually finished on 7th. We also had number 8, which is Wind Chaser. Wind Chaser is the one who was the eye catcher. Took the turn in 8th spot, came flying on the wide outside. You can just see now Wind Chaser fell short. The eventual winner was Centurion, and Wind Chaser settled for 2nd spot. We move on to number 3, Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe had a benefit of a run in race number 11 where it was travelling in 5th spot, made no further improvement and eventually finished on 5th. The winner here was The Protector, who won that race by a length and a quarter. Next up, we got number 4, Cape Tenoris. Cape Tenoris had a debut run in race number 49 where it received a lot of market support, was travelling in 4th spot, then into the last 150 meters took charge and won that race, going away, beating Devyushka into 2nd by 4 lengths. We move on to number 6, Wandering Angel was a winner in its first start in race number 2 where it beat Tahoe. Since then has had couple of place efforts, including the last one where it went over 1100 meters, travelled in 3rd spot and eventually finished on 3rd behind Paisley. Couple of runners we got here. Number 7, Criteria. Criteria was travelling in 11th spot as it took the turn and then eventually finished on 10th of 12 runners. We also had number 9, Unstoppable. Unstoppable, after running a couple of eye-catching run in his last start, Unstoppable took the turn in 9th spot, did not make any further improvement and eventually finished on 9th of 12 runners. The winner here was Swiss Tado, who won that race by 3 parts of a length. Number 10 is Discover. Discover has had a couple of starts. First, it finished on 4th in race number 2 behind Wandering Angel. In its last start, Discover was again installed as the favourite. Then took the turn in 2nd spot and weakened as they ended the last 200 and eventually finished on 5th. The winner here was X-Fight, who took the inside run and won that race in a close finish. We move on to the third race of the afternoon, the Poker Guru Cup. For horses rated 61 to 86, rated 41 to 66 eligible to be run over a distance of 2,400 meters. The first runner we're looking at is number 1, Kimaya. Kimaya has had one start in this season where Kimaya was travelling in 8th spot and eventually finished on 8th. The winner here was Tigrio, who won that race by 3 1/4 lengths. Next up we got number 2, Roaring Tiger, who shifted base from Western India. Its first start of this season where it finished on 5th after having a slow start and was traveling in 5th spot and eventually finished on 5th. The winner here was Dandi Satyagraha, who won that race by a very close margin of a short head. Couple of runners we are looking at. Number 3, Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger has had 3 starts so far, couple of place efforts. In his last start, Cliffhanger took the turn in 3rd spot, then made some gradual improvement, but the winner Justified had already gone away, and Justified beat Cliffhanger by about 2.5 lengths. And Justify, who was traveling in 2nd spot, took charge and won that race in a very nice fashion. Next up we got number 5, 3rd Avenue, has already reeled off a hat-trick. Won in race number 7, beating Deem to Fire. Won in race number 20, beating Basharat. And in his last start, 3rd Avenue went over 2000 meters, took charge as they entered the home straight and drew away from the field. It was all over, bar the shouting, got the measure of Eastern Crown. We move on to the 4th race of the afternoon, the District 3291 Cup for horses weighted 41 to 66 to be run over a distance of 1400 meters. The first runner we're looking at is number 1, D Night Mysore. D Night Mysore so far has had 4 starts, has placed couple of times. In his last start, D Night Mysore took the turn in last spot, then eventually finished on 4th of 5 runners. And the winner here was Justified. This time D Night Mysore had gone over 2000 meters and back to 1400 now. Three runners we're looking at in number 2, Luminous. After shifting base from Hyderabad, its first couple of starts, Luminous first finished on 4th in race number 31. In his last start, Luminous travelled in 6th spot, eventually weakened and finished on 8th. And then we had number 4, Sherwin. Sherwin, after winning in race number 30, beating Swiss Starter in his last start, Sherwin eventually finished on 4th after travelling in 2nd spot most of the while. Number 5, Foolproof, was slow out of the gates and trailed the field home and finished on 7th of 9 runners. The winner here was Top Notch. Number 3 is Mughal, excellent out of the Victoria, ridden by Suraj Naidu after shifting base from Western India. Its first start of the season in Calcutta, where it was travelling in 7th spot. Then when it burst out of the pack, there was absolutely only one horse which was moving. The rest of them had frozen because Mughal beat them by almost 8 lengths. Finishing 2nd, there was Exotic Queen. Number 6 is Centurion. Centurion, after placing in his first start in race number 10 behind Dandi Satyagraha, in his next start it finished on 5th in race number 41 behind Nova. In his last start, Centurion was travelling in 6th spot, made gradual improvement into the last 200 meters, challenged the runaway favourite, then eventually it got stronger. There was a late challenge by Wind Chaser, but Centurion staved off the late challenge and won that race by almost length and a quarter. Number 8 is Astral Force. Astral Force has had 4 starts so far in this season. Its best start was his first start, where it finished on 4th behind Camila, who was the eventual classic winner. In his last start, Astral Force went over 2000 meters, was leading the pack, but then ran out of gas and eventually finished on 5th of 7 runners. The winner here was 3rd Avenue. Number 9 is Properly Posh. Properly Posh was installed as the very warm favourite in the last start, and Properly Posh was ridden in 2nd spot as they entered the home straight. When asked for an effort, Properly Posh really hung in and lost all his chances. The runaway leader Paisley won that race by almost 2 lengths. Next, we got number 10, Gold Bond. Gold Bond in race number 43 was travelling in 6th spot, made some late gains and eventually finished on 4th behind Euphrates, who went on to win the Oaks. We move on to the 5th race of the afternoon, the Rotary Club of Central Calcutta Cup For horses weighted 41 to 66, weighted 21 to 46, which were in station in Kolkata as of 30th April 2021, to be run over a distance of 1100 meters. The first two runners we're looking at is number 1, Legendary Striker. Legendary Striker in his last start went on a start to finish mission and won that race with a measure of comfort, beating the field by 5 lengths. We also had number 2, Harbour Sunrise, who was travelling in 3rd spot, eventually finished on 5th. We have a couple of more runners who took part in this race. Number 5, Memorable Memories, who was travelling in last spot as they took the turn, then eventually finished on 4th. And we also had number 8, which is UV, travelled slightly wide of the track and then eventually finished on 6th of 9 runners, almost 8 lengths from the winner. We move on to number 3, Sheerforce. Sheerforce has had 3 starts. His best start was in race number 29, where it finished on 2nd behind Resolute. And in his last start, Sheerforce went on a start to finish mission, but then weakened very quickly and finished on 5th of 5 runners. The winner here was Justified. This one was over 2000 meters, which is not the ideal distance for Sheerforce. Next up, we got number 4, Eastside. Eastside has had 3 starts so far. In its last start, Eastside was travelling in 7th spot, made up per place and finished on 6th of 9 runners. The winner here was Top Notch, who took charge and won that race, going away by almost 4.5 lengths. Next up, we got number 6, Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch in its last start was in 3rd spot as they entered the home straight. This was over 2000 meters in race number 46. But then Scarlet Witch, when asked for an effort, didn't have much to offer, fell back and finished on 6th of 7 runners. The winner here was 3rd Avenue, who won that race by 5.5 lengths. We are looking at race number 35, where number 7, Indian Tiger, who went on a start to finish mission, won that race by a short head. And number 9 is Rare Bird, is the horse which challenged Indian Tiger but then fell short. And Rare Bird was the one who came up from 5th spot in the bend and made a late challenge for it. And let's see how it goes between these two. We move on to the 6th race of the afternoon, the Perrine Dalal Alokananda Stakes for fillies 3-year-old only, to be run over a distance of 1200 meters. We are looking at number 1, Tuscany, in race number 55, where Tuscany went on a start to finish mission, and there was a late challenge by Social Trust, but then Tuscany had already got the race sewn up. And we also had number 5, Sonata, who was racing in 8th spot, then weakened and eventually finished on 10th. Number 3 is Misty Grey, top class out of Zakara. Misty Grey, who was on a start to finish mission in race number 36, but then when challenged for the lead by Social Truth, Misty Grey could only hold on for 2nd spot because Social Truth went away, won that race by 7.25 lengths. Next up, we got number 6, Success. Success was racing in the wrong end of the field as they entered the home straight, was 2nd last. But Success, as you can see towards the inside in the lilac and crimson slash, made up some late gains and eventually finished on 4th. The winner here was Raisina Star. We move on to the 7th race of the afternoon, the feature race of the day, the Indian Champion Cup Grade 1 for horses 4-year-old and over, to be run over a distance of 2000 meters. We have 3 runners we are looking at. This race is race number 47, where number 1 Consigliere was in 3rd spot as they entered the home straight, weakened and eventually finished on 7th of 7 runners. We had number 3 Chivans, who was travelling in last spot but came up and took charge into the last 200 and drew away from the field. We also had number 5 Rainbow Trout, who was travelling in 2nd spot and eventually stayed on 7th, held the rail and finished on almost 5 lengths from the winner, which was Chivans. Couple of runners we're looking at is from race number 32, where number 2 Psychic Force, who went on a start to finish mission, but as you can see towards the inside rail, weakened and finished on 4th. We also had number 7 Tudor Hall, who was travelling in 4th spot as they entered the home straight, but came like a darting arrow and took charge into the last 50 and beat Chivans by almost 2 1/4 lengths. We're looking at a run for Parisian in the Invitation Cup, where Parisian was travelling in 2nd last spot and eventually finished on 4th. The winner here was Alluring Silva, who won that race by a length and a quarter, beating Juliet into 2nd. We got number 6, Rambunctious. The run we are looking at is from the Super Mile, where Rambunctious was travelling in 5th spot, did not make any further improvement, was caught in traffic for a while to be fair to Rambunctious and eventually finished on 5th of 9 runners. The winner here was Cosmic Ray, who won that race by almost 2 1/4 lengths. We move on to the 8th race of the afternoon, the Rotary Club of Calcutta Millennium Club for horses rated 21 to 46, rated 1 to 26 eligible. This is a no-whip race to be run over a distance of 1200 meters. The first runner we're looking at is number 1 Atom. Atom has had 4 starts so far. Best start was in race number 56, the one we are looking at, where Atom was travelling in 4th spot as they entered the home straight, made some late gains towards the down the centre and eventually finished on 4th behind Top Notch. Couple of runners we're looking at is from race number 44, where ASOS, who was the eventual winner, took the turn in 3rd spot. This was also a no-whip race, where ASOS challenged for the lead and eventually won that race by almost 2 1/4 lengths. We also had number 4 Aggression, who travelled in 5th spot throughout and eventually finished on 5th. Aggression was a little tad slow to start the race. Number 3 is Stagger. Stagger was strongly fancied in the last run, but Stagger, who batted for a while but eventually finished on 2nd to Centurion. We also had number 10, which is Tahoe. Tahoe has placed a couple of times earlier in the season. In his last start, Tahoe took the turn in 7th spot, then made some late gains and eventually finished on 4th. Next up, we got number 5, Mr. Batola Bars. The race we are looking at is from race number 51, where Mr. Batola Bars was travelling in 3rd spot and eventually finished on 4th. We also had number 7, which is Indian Star. Indian Star, couple of runs for Indian Star without placing in any of them. In its last start, Indian Star travelled in 8th spot throughout, then eventually finished on 6th behind Forevermore. Next we got number 6, Amazing Dream. Amazing Dream has had a couple of starts in this season where it has been unplaced. In his last start, took the turn in 6th spot and eventually finished on 7th of 7 runners. The winner here was Sherwin. Number 8 is Little Finger. Little Finger, after winning in race number 111 in the last race of the season and last start of the season, in its first start of this season, Little Finger took the turn in 7th spot, made some late gains on the wide outside and eventually finished on 4th. The winner here was Who Dares Wins. Next up, we got number 9, Ashwamegh. Ashwamegh has had 3 starts. His best start was his last start, despite getting out of the gates a little slowly. Ashwamegh came out and finished on 4th behind Paisley, who won that race by almost 2 lengths. We move on to the 9th race of the afternoon, the Man Ki Shakti TNT Cup. For horses weighted 21 to 46, weighted 1 to 26 eligible. A no-whip race to be run over a distance of 1200 meters. The first one we are looking at is number 1, Nandini's Pet, and we also had number 5, Scrib. Nandini's Pet, who travelled in front but got beaten close home. And by Forevermore, we had number 5, Script, who travelled in second spot, then finished on 3rd. Number 3 is Secret Pearl. Secret Pearl was a winner in its last start, where Secret Pearl was travelling in 5th spot and came up with a late run on the wide outside and got that race in a photo finish, and Secret Pearl beat Rare Bird into 2nd. Next up, we got 2 runners. We got number 4, Cliffs of Capri. Cliffs of Capri has had 3 starts without placing any of them. Has been a little slow out of the gates in his last 2 starts, and his last start finished on 7th of 8 runners. We also had number 7, which is Paisley, who was the eventual winner, went on a start to finish mission and won that race by almost 2 lengths, beating Properly Posh. We got a couple of runners here. Number 6, Shivalik Silk. Couple of runs for Shivalik Silk in this season. First, it finished on 3rd in race number 28 behind Secret Pearl in his last start. Shivalik Silk finished on 5th after travelling in second spot throughout, but then weakened and finished on 5th. We also had number 10, Rush for Gold, who was travelling in front but weakened and finished on 8th of 8 runners. The winner here was Centurion. Number 8 is Around the World. Couple of starts for Around the World in this season. Around the World in his last start was travelling in 6th spot and eventually finished on 5th. And it was reported by the vet that Around the World had bled through the nostril after the race. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.